Thank you for being with us for the third day of the symposium.
Recording in progress.
So I hope also that you enjoyed the lunch, the evening in Djerba. Now we will start the third day of our symposium. We will have two sessions. The session 4 about the Adwen gull and its international single species action plan. It will be run until the lunch, and the afternoon we will start with the session 5, which will be about the conservation of coastal birds in the Mediterranean. And we will finish our conference with the recommendation and an award ceremony. And of course, the official closure. We will have 2 coffee breaks that will be maybe used also to present the poster. So our session 4 session will be shared by Marie-Claire Gate, and I give the floor to her to continue the work.
Thanks, Lubna. Good morning, bonjour, sabah al-khair. Welcome for the third day of this great symposium. As Lubna has already stated, this session will be dedicated to the Odwin gull, which is a species that has experienced severe population decline over the past decades, and we'll be discussing past, present, and future conservation action. This session has also undertaken quite some change since the program. So, of course, we'll be starting with the keynote speech by Nuno Oliveira, then followed by Martí Frank, Intisar Tabeti. Then we'll have a coffee break, which will be well-deserved. Khadija Bourras will have a joint presentation by Aida Abdenader and Matteo Sevenet. And the session will close with a presentation and discussion led by Tanya Nascimento. So without much further ado, we're already slightly behind schedule, but I think we'll be able to catch up. I'll present the keynote speaker, who is Nuno Oliveira. Nuno Oliveira is a biologist with a specialization in marine conservation. He has been part of the Portuguese BirdLife partner, SPEA, since 2009, and where he currently holds the position of Marine Conservation Officer. Over these years, Nuno has accumulated experiences in collaborative projects, both within the country and with international partners, including projects on the monitoring and conservation of seabirds and the tackling of pressures such as predation by alien species, fisheries bycatch, and loss of nesting habitat. He's perhaps most renowned for his involvement in the ambitious and exemplary conservation project on the Berlengas archipelago off the coast of Portugal, which holds a special place in his heart. His participation and work along the entire terrestrial and marine territory of Portugal also includes projects for the conservation of the Odwin gulls, which hold a sizable breeding colony in the southern Portugal. Today, he's presenting a review of the implementation of the species action plan of this species. Nuno, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mary. I hope it's working good. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the presentation. I could not do better, but too much, perhaps. Okay, so my name is Nuno Oliveira, and yeah, I'm working for SPEA. Yeah. Oh, so here is a bit the structure of my presentation today. So I will start to presenting the review implementation of the species action plan for the Odwin gull, and then I will do just a brief overview of how the Odwin gull is doing in Portugal, which is quite a big different the way the species is doing in the remaining distribution area, actually. So talking a bit about the team behind this work. The work was led by me in SPEA, Tanya Nascimento is here, my colleague in SPEA as well, and Antonio Vulcano from BirdLife International. this on the revision of the implementation of the action plan, and then I added at last time, I added my colleagues from Portugal, Vitor Paiva and Filipe Muniz, who are helping and doing a lot of conservation work in Albinos Gull in Portugal. Unit here. Oh, sorry. Okay, so just having a good small brief on SPEA, the Portuguese BirdLife Partner. SPEA is an NGO, which the mission is to protect birds and their habitats in Portugal, but also in foreign countries. It's quite young, was established in 1993, is a small NGO in terms of members, less than 5,000, but then we have quite a good number of projects, mainly funding by European Commission, mainly by LIFE program. Of course, we are supported by a huge number of volunteers every year, like all of your NGOs, and yes, I already said that. So starting with the review of the implementation of this species action plan for the Albinos Gull. Whoa. Okay, yeah. So this work was done in the aim of a project that we are running since 2019, and actually it will end this year, which is Life Ilhas Barreira, and actually one of the flag species of this project was the Albinos Gull, the other was actually the Balearic shearwater. It has a long list of partners, even national authorities, the Nature Agency in Portugal, and some other NGOs, private companies, and some universities as well. Speaking on the timeline of the SAP implementation. So the SAP was adopted in 1996, so a long time ago, and then it was reviewed, the implementation was reviewed four times, one in 2000, another in 2004, then 2007 and 2010. Actually, most of this review of implementations were done together with several species, and of course it was quite a long time, the last review of implementation, which was in 2010. So we proposed to do a new review of the implementation last year in 2023. And the last part, which we try to implement in this year, 2024, I will speak a bit more later. In terms of assessment periods of these assessments, it actually runs from 2010 to 2023. And for this session, I have quite two challenges for you, all the audience, because of course this was a quite huge work, collating information, contacting people to get up-to-date information on the Albinos Gull status, and also on threats and the conservation, but the assessment is never completed. And I guess we have here a good knowledge and people that perhaps can bring new information that was not available for us in 2023. So I would like to take the opportunity to collect more information from you. Perhaps there are some countries that were not included in the geographical range when the SAP was prepared in 1996. Example, Libya, Egypt, and nowadays it's a bit different. Even Portugal, actually, by that time, the species was not breeding in Portugal, and Croatia was not included as well, but nowadays we know that are important sites. So if we intend to go to a review, would be good to include all these countries. So three things that I would expect from you was think about the status of your species, and even if you don't know, but if you know someone working in your country that can provide good information on it, please let us know. And second, think about the threats on your own country or in the neighborhood countries, and the conservation actions that will need to tackle these threats in a new or revised species action plan. And actually, you will have, of course, more time, but at least this morning would be very nice, this session, because I'm presenting now a brief result on this review of the implementation. Then at the end of the session, my colleague Tanya will come back to this work, and then we can discuss a bit on the future review of the action plan itself. So, but focusing on the review of the implementation of the action plan, actually there is like a process to scoring the implementation of a plan, which not created by us. We just followed a methodology that was set by Gallo Orsi in 2001. Is based in the priority scores that are already established in the original action plan. Then we have like implementation score that we run for each country of the geographical range, which goes from 0, where action was not needed or not relevant, to 4, where action was fully implemented. Yes, and this national implementation score is calculated and expresses the progress against all actions by a country. And as I said, the range scores for between 1 and 4. And this is a kind of qualitative analysis, assessment. Then we try to transform in a quantitative assessment. So we can call it like a semi-quantitative assessment. But at least at the end, we have a good idea how the things were going on. And then after end, we calculate action priority index. What it says is which actions need or are more prior to take action or to be tackled. So, and after all the consultancy that we did, oh, sorry about the letter, it's quite short, perhaps it's not very easy to read, but after all the consultation we have had, we got like replies from 12 countries out of 14, but yeah, 12 countries out of 14, but 2 of them were not included in the previous geographic range. One was actually Portugal, and another one was Croatia as well. So at the end was quite a good review in terms of people contributing to this analysis. And these graphs, what is show is how each country was dealing or was taking action against in overall. So is the national implementation score for each country. And that red line actually is kind of a threshold that's above 2.5, which is the number a country is assumed to do well in terms of the species action plan implementation. Okay, and this is again just all the actions that were included in the species action plan in the SAP, and just the assessment for each of the actions by each of the country. So again, the resolution of the screen here is perfect. If you come here, you can read everything, but it's not very good. And here is the remaining actions. So we have a lot of actions, more than 20 in the species action plan. Some of them are more precise and descriptive. Others are more general. Some of the actions are really targeting or focusing in one country or one region of the Meds. Others are a bit more broader. So in terms of actions and the action implementation score, here in this table, what we can see is how each action was, in overall assessment, how was tackled. And of course, the dark blue bars means like the top priority actions, and the light blue ones are the medium priority actions. And again, if we put the 2.5 line in the score as a threshold, we can see which of the actions were tackled, at least in average, or where the countries were acting well, tackling these actions. And ones that we can emphasize in here is actually the improvements in the EU fisheries policies, overall the legislation, because in 1996 the legislation available was not so good as nowadays, and we cannot forget that. International cooperation actually improved, implementation cooperation, international cooperation improved a bit, and designates key sites as well improved a lot. And in terms of the actions that got less scored actually was the implementation or the adoption of the action plan at national level. So very, very small, few countries have adopted national action plans, and this is the action perhaps that gets less score. And then we also can assume that we don't have basic information on the species, like breeding biology, information about diets, and many others. Okay. Okay. So and for the future, and if we intend to review the action plan, these graphs here shows which the actions which have more priority to include or to keep working in the future to tackle. And one of them is actually the national action plan. So adopt national action plans and force our authorities to do it. Actually, to know more about the habitat use during the winter. That is good. Habitat use during the winter. Study the population dynamics. So more research is actually needed, and monitor the fishing activities. I guess it's a bit some of the things that we already discussed during this symposium. And that's, wait, okay, I come back. And that was the ones that we are doing well, so perhaps not a lot of work is needed in the future. In terms of legislation, at least in the European Union, the species is full protected, and control competitors and native species. Yes, we are doing a lot, so perhaps is not a future action to tackle a lot. And one of the come up was also prevent egg collection, because perhaps as far as we got, there is no more a really threat and it's very good that we are moving in this way. And that's it in terms of top action priorities. So back to the timeline and focus in that last part that we intend to do this year in 2024. So review and updating the species action plan. Actually, what we intend to do, we already receive a lot of new and updated information on the species status, but we hope to have to collect more, review the review the list of threats, review the actions as well, add actions if it is needed, remove actions if it needed as well, and publish a new version by the last of this year. And there were a lot of people. Some of them are here who contribute to this revision. Thank you very much for all. And almost there. And this is the this is the second short part of the presentation, which is in the situation of Audouin's in Portugal. As you will see, looks like you are quite lucky on that, or at least the species looks like finds a good place to be. I don't know if you know Portugal or if you already have been in Portugal. Algarve is quite touristic, so the people from outside comes a lot. So Portugal is here, isn't it? Iberian Peninsula, Portugal, and the main colonies are here. Actually, the species tried to do a first attempt to breeding near 2000, but in some salt pans very near to the border. But I guess the species didn't like to be so closer to our friend Spanish, so they didn't like the place, and they move a bit more to the center of the country. Actually, there were they faced a lot of problems in that areas, like predation by feral cats, stray dogs, by fox, because we're in salt pans, so there were a lot of threats and even perturbation. But in 2008 was the first sighting. They found one peaceful sand island located in the center of the center south of the coast of Portugal, and since then was like that. They start breeds and breeds and breeds and breeds. And actually in 2023, last year, they reached more or less or almost 6,000 breeding pairs, and they found a new colony in other islands. What we can say about these islands, the first one where almost 5,500 are breeding, what we can say is there is no people living in the island, just one fisherman. And actually this fisherman loves birds. Actually, he was the one who detected for the first time the bird and called the wardens, because he was hearing a very strange gull calling, and he just called the wardens and said, there is a gull here that is not very common. And he discovered actually the colony. And it's quite strange, but other than that, it's a touristic site, so there is perturbation, and they used to have cats as well. But one good thing was, as soon as this bird arrived there, and not as soon as they arrived, but some years later, we start this project in 2019, Life Ilhas Barreira, with our governments, and try to tackle and preserve the species as much as we can, and the habitats. So we start by remove the cats from the island, who are like less than 10 cats, stray cats, but we removed all the cats, and we start also to control the rodents, just to not leave them to increase the population, because it's not possible to eradicate rats from that island, because it's very short, very close for the mainlands. And we are working on awareness of the people and improving the pathways which people can use and the information available. So let the people know that there is a species there that is worth to protect. And again, because of this situation and this recent colonization in Portugal, we tried to answer to the action plan. Actually, this project, Life Ilhas Barreira, much of the actions were based in the actions that were defined and you can find in the action plan. Of course, we are tackling some more than the others. We don't have a national action plan in Portugal. I don't think we will have one soon, but at least there is some will to have direct measures to the species in Portugal. And yes, the most reason behind such results, such increasing on the species status in Portugal, I guess I did already focused. And this is the curious thing. So, the species arrived to a colony where already yellow-legged gulls were nesting. And actually, the blue bars are the ones, the size of the Audouin's gull, and the orange bars are the size of the yellow-legged gull. And yellow-legged gull was quite new in the island as well. So by the 90s, the species was not breeding in that island, but she arrived a bit earlier than Audouin's gull. But Audouin's gull start to nest really just besides yellow-legged gull, and actually this is a map that we did of the range of the colonies of yellow-legged gulls at yellow and Audouin's gull at red. And so by that time we had only 2 small nucleus or patch of Audouin's gull that start to increase. And if you see the numbers of Audouin's gull comparing with yellow-legged gull, in 2023 we really found more patches of Audouin's gull, but in terms of range, is quite smaller if you compare in terms of relative. Why is that? Because this is what you can find in the Audouin's gull colony, so it's a mess. We have like Audouin's gull concentrated nesting very, very much together, and yellow-legged gull in that island is spread around. So you have like one nest here, one nest in 20, 30, 50 meters. Okay, so they occupy a large area, but with the lowest density. And this is quite surprising after we have heard during this symposium, and ever the general idea of the non-balance, or that Audouin's gull cannot deal with the presence of yellow-legged gulls. Actually, in this area, they are doing very, very well. And what we can say is that yellow-legged gull is not really doing so well, and Audouin's gull is doing a lot. And that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Nuno. That was really quite inspiring, and also to see a very different outcome for Audouin's gull. So we have actually plenty of time to open the floor for questions. So I guess if anyone, don't turn away too soon, if anyone has any questions for Nuno, I guess especially perhaps on best practices well, with respect to the monitoring or the conservation efforts on Audouin's gulls.
Thank you very much for your kind presentation. I want to ask you a question. When Audouin's gull were first started to breed in the area, and at the end of those journey, have you observed any change in their breeding behavior or the interaction with yellow-legged gulls when they were small in numbers and when they became bigger? Behavior.
We don't. Actually, it's working, isn't it? The tricky thing is there was not lots of people very working and collecting this kind of information by that time. Okay, but by the way, the researchers when they start, they were the same feeling. Oh, yellow-legged gull we have to be careful because yellow-legged gull can do some harm and can attack Audouin's gull. But at this time, what we see is that it's quite a balanced behavior. So Audouin's gull, even the Audouin's gull, they attacked yellow-legged gull and they attacked themselves when they get very, very concentrated. Because now we have like a huge concentration of Audouin's gull. And yellow-legged gull, yes, they behave very different. Depends on the concentrations of the colony. If you have a colony very, very dense, and we have in Portugal, it's completely different how the way they behave when they are not so dense. So perhaps we have to be careful with other things. Why yellow-legged gulls population is increased so much? What the reasons behind, I mean.
Okay. Thank you. Very valuable presentation.
Thank you.
Good work. Thank you. I just remember when you mentioned, I think, the size of the species, and first time you use a threshold to say what is above means that the population is in good condition, right?
No. It means that if we are above, the country is doing, or the countries are doing better in terms of tackling. It's not if the species is good or not, if what we are doing as a country.
Yeah, because in Spain and in Portugal, it was above, and now you make it clear for me.
Yeah.
Because I know that it is not, the species is not in good condition in Spain.
No.
And because of them and the decline during the last 10 years, the conservation status went back to vulnerable. Yeah, but okay,
No,
thank you.
you completely true. If I passed that idea was completely wrong. So the graph shows how the teams, or how we as nations were tackling the actions that we proposed to tackle. Know how efficient we were.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
The status is another issue. Portugal is completely different in terms of status, actually, but it's not compensating the situation in Spain. Not at all. Do you want my mic?
Thank you. Bravo, Nuno. I think we should take this opportunity that we are in with a lot of North Africans and Middle East people to stress that this part of the range of the Audouin gull needs more attention. On one side, you already stressed this, but let's say from my Libyan friends told me that there are no more so many overwintering Audouins in Libya as it was 10 or 20 years ago. So I think that this is a kind of information that we should try to improve and to see, because that was a winter range which was used by the very eastern breeder, those which don't go to Morocco but remain in the Med. And it's a good opportunity, I think, to invent any form of monitoring, of long-term monitoring. Since it is so difficult to monitor the Greek colonies because you need a lot of money with so many islands, you can do the job maybe
In the wintering areas.
in winter.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. This is as I start to say, this is a great opportunity to get this kind of information, even more for them that countries that we have so much information. And yes, that's that idea of thinking all together about some monitoring program plan to long-term monitor the species is the right way to do, and perhaps we can think a bit during this morning on it. Go, Jelena.
Thank you for a great presentation. I think that international cooperation is something that is needed here. For example, Croatian birds, Croatian audience gulls, being eastern part of range, are wintering in Libya and Tunisia. And we have quite some birds with GPS tags, and we can identify the areas where our birds are staying. And sharing this information, we have information where they are staying during the winter. And sharing this information with our North African colleagues will help them to go and check. Okay, there is 1 or 2 tagged Croatian birds, but maybe it's in a flock of 20, maybe it's in a flock of 100, maybe it's alone. So I think this sharing of information, maybe before winter count, to have some kind of network sharing information about tagged birds. I have an idea from completely different bird, from red kite winter census, when we 1 month before the winter census, we all agreed that all GPS data are shared among, of course, among people you trust, and then you have people, then they can go and check this area and make maybe better estimation of wintering sites.
Yeah, it's a good idea as well. And what I can say is all the information that you have or that you know about, just let me know by, well, you can just come to me later and send me an email or ask my contacts. And yeah, but we have to take this opportunity to move in this way. I completely agree.
Pep, can you pass?
Thank you. No, I just wanted to make a reflection when it was said that probably Spain is the fault. Well, it's the fault of Spain that the species is going vulnerable. I'm not particularly fancy of defending my country for policy on cyber conservation because I have many criticisms. But in this case, I think that for Audouinskal, I would say that there has been really quite a good willingness to work with the species, and I would say that there has been a proper monitoring or a reasonably good monitoring and conservation action of the species. And the issue is maybe we have to think more on a metapopulation perspective and not only country perspective. So it's true that, well, the main issue in Spain, and Martí will talk about it, is that the Ebro Delta collapsed as a huge colony. It was the main colony of the species, and it collapsed. Apparently, the main driver would be the presence of predators that at some point just made the colony largely desert. And I would say that probably it was also related with a decrease in small pelagic fish around the Ebro Delta that probably also influenced the dispersal of the population. So part of this population went to Portugal probably, and part of this population just spread across the several Mediterranean islands, particularly in Spain as well, and also in non-pristine areas like harbors and so on. But I would say that there has been some good reaction to really act and protect the places where the species was established. So we are still losing some part of the population somewhere. So it's really going down. But in this particular case, I wouldn't say that it has been a real failure of administrations. And just as a last remark, maybe one of the failures from my view, and related with what you was presenting, Nuno, is that I think many people has the kind of automatic pilot, if it's a proper expression, about managing yellow-legged gulls to improve breeding success, occupancy, whatever of Audouinskal. And sometimes we do it too automatically. without really assessing or really knowing which is the, for sure yellow-legged gulls can predate on audience gulls, and in some colonies probably it was a big pressure for them. But I would say that probably we should pay more attention to other conservation actions, particularly related with fisheries and so on. And I was going to say something else, but too much things in my head. So thank you. It was just a reflection rather than a question, but your view is very welcome, Nuno. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, I don't reply to you, but I just will add one thing, that what we can learn from the experience in Spain, not about what you did or you did not, but we'd never, even in our case that now we have like a quite huge and increasing population, we don't assume as a giving thing. And like that, because of that, and knowing the experience in Spain and in Delta do Ebro, even when we start these live Ilhas Barreira projects, the species was increasing. But we forced the governments to go ahead with a project like that. It's not a very small project, but I guess it's very important, even if a population is increasing in your country, pay attention to it. Because in one day to the other, or 1 year to the other, we can lose it. And I don't think we are in the situation to lose populations, even if they are common in our countries. Even in a species like that, is not like Audouin's gull that is not doing very well in the main range of the species. I guess. Yeah.
We have time for one more question, Algretis.
May I?
Nicola wants to.
No.
If it's short, yes, because then there's also Hijen. So can we have a microphone get to Hijen? It's on its way, it's on its way.
Who was?
Thank you.
You know
Thank
that
you,
guy?
Nuno. Very good presentation. And yes, I am also in accord with what was said about the better international collaboration and about what we can do to understand better the wintering movement of Audouin gull, because they have a huge work do it for the water bird, and perhaps we need to discuss how we manage to have more information about the wintering area of Audouin gull inside this system. And one of the options which was discussed in our North African network of water bird, it was to every year to have a focus in one species and to try to have more information about the existence in wintering period. For Tunisia, my friend in the association, we read several rings of Audouin gull coming from Spain, from Italy, most of them. And yes, we think that we have a very direct link with some country where we need to work better together to understand. They are breeding in your country, but they are wintering in our area, and we need to have some better consideration and work together to conserve this bird and to know where is the best wintering site for them in north part of the Mediterranean and in south part of the Mediterranean.
Completely agree with you, Richard. Perhaps Audouin is the species to go, to use as a flag. So we can try to establish any such a kind of monitoring scheme together with wintering floors and ground floors and breeding floors. So we have like a huge and good monitoring scheme that will increase our collaboration for sure and coordination. We should think about it.
May I? Nuno, I already, this is question to you and to Pep. I already made this question at the Artina conference in Croatia to Dani Oro, and I didn't receive a clear answer. Is there evidence of a move from the colorings of a move of birds from Ebro to Portugal or not? Because to have this increase, you should have a lot of rings from this formerly huge colony. Must be the main source.
Yeah. We have the data actually. We hadn't yet the time and the will or the interest to someone analyze the data in that sense. Actually, I'm in touch with Daniel and we were preparing and proposing a new project for the coming years. And one of the missions or goals of that project is actually explore the sources of the Audouin's gull in Portugal. And for sure we have lots of readings on the colony that for gulls that are from Spain, but we have to confirm if they were breeding birds in Spain or chicks or birds that were born in Spain and then they move. But yeah, we have some, of course, but we need to analyze the data with this goal. I hope next year we can bring more information on that. I don't know if Pep want to add something. But it's a quite funny and interesting species and gull, very different from yellow-legged gull or other gulls as well.
Thank you, Nuno, again. Do not forget Nuno's invitation to forward any information or contact points from your countries about the state of Audouin's gulls. So next up, we'll be hearing the perspective of Audouin's gulls in Catalonia from Martí Frank, from the Catalan government.
Hello. Okay, good morning, everyone. So thankfully, both Pep and Nuno already explained some part of my presentation, so I'm more relaxed now. Some part of the job is already done. So basically, that way. Have I closed the presentation, or what should I do? It's good.
Can we have the presentation back on the screens?
Everything was going too well.
Can you do stand-up meanwhile?
Excuse me?
Can you do stand-up comedy meanwhile?
No, sorry, no. Are we getting it back or? Yeah, okay. Well, so basically, I will explain you a little bit of the progress of the breeding population of the Audouin gull in Catalonia, because it has undergone some big changes in the last years. That way. Nope. Come on, help me.
It's okay, we can all just wait. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not eating up your time limitation, so you
Great. Is it working now? Okay. So basically, I'm going to explain you the story of the breeding population of the audience gull in Catalonia, because it has gone huge changes since it colonized Catalonia in the 80s until now. So basically, the title, it's from pristine dunes to rooftops and harbors, and you'll see why. So you probably know that most of the breeding population of the audience gull in the world indeed was in the Ebro Delta in a given moment. It reached, I think it's up to 70% of the global population. The Ebro Delta was colonized in the early 80s and it reached more than 15,000 breeding pairs in 2006. As Nuno was saying, we had great perspectives of a growing population, but then suddenly it started decreasing really quickly. The population in the Ebro Delta, it had this huge decline, and then it started in 2006. And then from 2009, 2010, smaller colonies started appearing along the coast, both in Catalonia, but also away from Catalonia, in the rest of the Mediterranean coast and Portugal. You can see here's just 4 snapshots of the population in different years. 2006 is when we had the maximum in the Ebro Delta. In 2010, it's when it started spreading along the coast. 2014, I believe it's the first year when the Ebro Delta colony was not the biggest one in Spain anymore. Well, 2017 just shows quite nicely the situation nowadays. You see in the graph several colonies appearing since 2010. But at the same time, as we had new colonies, as it was colonizing new sites, it also started colonizing new habitats. Colonies started appearing in highly anthropogenic environments, basically in harbors and rooftops. Here you see these are all the colonies that has been monitored in Catalonia, that has been known in Catalonia. The red ones are not active right now. The blue ones were active in 2003, and they add up to 4,400 pairs, which is way below the maximum that we reach. As you see in the graph, the yellow bars are the ones in harbors and rooftops, and although they help to compensate this loss, they don't compensate it at all. Not in Catalonia, neither in Spain or in the whole of Iberia. So the overall population has decreased in the country. I want to focus basically in the case of Barcelona, where we have all these colonies in anthropogenic environments. So they are basically in the harbor of Barcelona and in the industrial area, which is called Zona Franca, which are the 2 sites in the top of the map. This area is located in the southwest of the city of Barcelona, so you can see from the north, from the upper right corner of the map. It's where the city starts to the north and to the east, and to the west we have the natural reserves of Llobregat Delta, where some colonies established, but it's not breeding anymore. So let's start with the harbor. This is the situation last year in 2023. So basically we have 2 breeding sites quite close to each other. The one to the right, so the photo in the bottom right, it's basically an empty plot in the harbor. It's an empty plot that it's supposed to be developed into something else. It will have a use, but in the meanwhile, while it is empty, the gulls have used it. Also, these places are usually so that the access, people access is forbidden. So they are really calm. There are almost no predators. There are cats, but overall it shows some conditions that favors gulls to breed there. The rest of the colony is in the dock that extends to the southwest into the sea. The good thing about this area is that it's not supposed to be anything else than a dock. So it will not be transformed to anything, and this gives you opportunities for a more stable colony, breeding colony. But as you see in the image, it's just a really narrow band, basically concrete or sand that extends for a few kilometers. So the gulls basically breed at the edge of the rocks, on the edge of the sea, or if there are any plants or rocks that just have some centimeters of shadow, then they use it for breeding. They put the nest there. But this could give opportunities for more stable colonies. This is the colonies in the rooftops in the industrial areas. So the first case in these industrial areas was indeed in an empty plot when a building was, so they demolished the building, and while they were not building the new one, the gulls established a colony there. But this, of course, needed to move because there was a new building there. Then they used the rooftops, and basically it's like that. We have about 400, more than 400 pairs using this gravel with a little bit of vegetation. No predators, no one is going to the rooftops. So it's quite a nice place to breed for them. But then last year we realized that the population had changed a little bit from the previous years. So you see the square, the blue square. So this is the rooftop, it's quite bigger than that. The blue square to the right is where it had been breeding in the previous years, but then this year it held a little bit less breeding pairs, but then we suddenly found some pairs breeding in the left. So the left is not anymore this plain area with gravel and vegetation. There are some kind of buildings there. And it's probably because of side competition with the yellow-legged gull, which also breeds in the same rooftop. There are 450 pairs of yellow-legged gull in the rooftop. So let's see this new breeding site. It looks like that. Basically, there's a lot of kind of buildings above the rooftop. They are built like 1 meter height above the ground, and then you have a lot of pipelines and so on running below these buildings. You have these walking paths that go between the buildings, and the gulls basically are breeding between them. They are breeding below these walking paths, below these buildings. You can see the image to the left. This is a walking path, and maybe you can see 3 eggs below it, then the pipes and another nest there with 3 eggs. And this probably gives them some more protection from the yellow-legged gulls. Here we found, I think, about 200 nests in this area. Last year was the first time, but let's see this year how they progress. So basically, these changes in the breeding habits of the old-winged gull, we have problems like the increase of human disturbances, human wild predators such as the fox or the wild boar, which are extending their distributions into lower areas, both natural areas and also into cities or towns. Also the increase of domestic and introduced predators, mainly the feral cat, side competition with the yellow-legged gull, which had increased the population in the last decades. And now, when they are using these anthropogenic environments, there's this low temporal availability of the sites when they are supposed to become something else, to be built, to be used for another purpose. But at the same time, the fact that the gulls are using these sites, it might bring some new opportunities. Like we might think of new potential breeding sites and try to encourage the gulls to use them. I can imagine that we design a net of potential breeding sites in harbors, in rooftops, in empty plots that are not temporal, that can be used for that on purpose, and try to guarantee the best conditions in there, like controlling the ideal vegetation coverage, provide shelter and shadow for the chicks. We can do that artificially. We can control the vegetations. We can better control the predator or the human access to these sites. So we might start thinking of that as opportunity for the breeding population. So basically that's it. I want to thank the numerous teams that work on the old-winged gull in Catalonia, because it's a lot of them, from researchers, universities, protected areas, NGOs. There's Silver Life, especially my colleagues Ricardo Gutierrez from the government, who has been working with the species, and the colleagues from Coris, who have produced the technical memory that will be used to produce the new recovery plan in Catalonia, hopefully in the near future. So, thank you.
Thanks, Marty. We have time for a few questions. This is easier. There we go.
Good morning. Thank you for your is it working? Thank you for your presentation. I think it's very interesting because we, from all the symposium, we didn't put a spotlight on the breeding on the rooftops and the harbor and the urbanization regions. So what I wanted to ask is, I heard in France there are some of strategies that to get rid of the nests in the rooftops, where the people, well, there's a lot of civilization. They inject chemical products on the eggs. I wanted to know if in your country there are such techniques or strategies to get rid of, if they are willing to get rid of this also.
So in Spain, this is done, I think only, at least in Catalonia, only with yellow light gull in urban areas mainly, where it is where it causes disturbance to people, or it can be a health issue. But it has never been done, and it will never be done, at least for now, with audience gull. Fortunately, well, at least audience gull is not breeding in houses or residential areas, so it's in industrial areas. It doesn't cause these kind of disturbances. It's easier to control that, well, or to live with that. We need to be aware of potential health problems with pathogens and so on.
Because in France it's really getting out of control, and the yellow-legged gulls is really getting aggressive, and it's a disturbance in the cities.
Yeah. So this is not a problem with the audience gull by now, at least.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for your very informative presentation. I have a few questions, but they are not very deep questions. Why do you think that you have such a substantial decrease? What is the main reason? First one. The second one, have you had any observations about the effect of avian influenza in audience gull? Or I don't have any information about the literature. Is there any study about the genetical diversity of avian audience gull in the region? I mean, microsatellites or something, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. So the first question was about the decrease. So the decrease in the Ebro Delta, it's probably linked with presence of predators. So some foxes, basically foxes, went into the Punta de la Baña, where the site where they were breeding, and this caused the ecology on the colony to rapidly change. Like I think they started moving, so spreading the colony, but then the numbers also lowering, and finally the colony nearly collapsed and spread to other colonies. So it probably had something to do, but as Pep was saying, it is also probably linked with issues outside of the colony, like offshore, linked to fisheries and so on. In other colonies, it has been proved that also wild boar has caused problems or human disturbances, and some of them apparently have moved because of the yellow light gull site competition also. But the main one, the Ebro Delta, is probably due to foxes. You asked about avian influenza. I think we have not had many problems yet. We have had many cases with terns, for example, but with audience gull, we have had cases, but it's not been dramatic. Indeed, this year we had an eye on it because so in Catalonia the cases started arriving in the middle of the breeding season of the audience gull, so we were really into it, but apparently it's not a problem by now. And the last question, yeah, I cannot give you information about that. I mean, there are quite a few research teams working in Catalonia. Maybe Pep can add something to that. I don't have the information.
maybe we can maybe we'll leave this conversation for conversation and then like speak about it. To take one more question to the author and then we'll move on. So I think Mathieu had a question over there, right?
Yes, we were asking ourselves with my colleagues Rita if you have any data on breeding success of some of the colonies, of breeding success, productivity, and or any quantification about the negative impact of feral cats or other mammals.
Sorry, I didn't hear too well.
Do you have any
I think you asked-
quantification, any
Yeah.
data about breeding success or any other idea about what is?
Yeah, so the breeding success is well monitored in most of the colonies. I mean, almost all the colonies are really well monitored with ringing, satellite tagging, also success is being controlled. I think you asked something about feral cats also, or not?
Yes, and so Rita was asking if it was if you have any quantification about this negative
that's
impact.
not quantified, but we know that, so indeed this is one problem that's affecting the colonies in anthropogenic sites. So in the harbors, for example, there are cats. The good thing is that the places that are more farther away, like this dock, where there are no fishermen, there's no human presence, then cats do not go so much into there, but we could probably improve some kind of barriers to avoid cats to go into there. But indeed, in the harbor, there are like established cat colonies, feral cat colonies, which is a problem indeed. So this is an issue that we should really work on. Apparently, rooftops are better for that because then you don't have these colonies.
All right. Thanks again, Marty. We'll move on to the next speaker, which is Intisar Sabeti, who will be presenting the situation with Audouin's gulls and yellow-legged gulls on the island of Zembra.
Zembra, yeah. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Intisar Thabit. I'm from the National Agronomic Institute of Tunisia. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to the symposium organizers for giving me the opportunity to be present with you today and for their dedication in making this event possible. So, in this presentation, I will present a study concerning the comparative analysis of the trophic ecology of the Audouin's gull and the yellow-legged gull breeding in the Zembra archipelago through stable isotope analysis. So I will start the introduction by asking a question: why should we study the trophic ecology of seabirds? So the response is simple because seabirds are important components of marine ecosystems due to their position at or near the top of trophic pyramids. They are much more accessible to researchers than other groups with a similar role in marine ecosystems like sharks and marine mammals because they breed inland. Therefore, their trophic ecology is studied much more than that of other marine groups, which makes them excellent biological indicators of fish stocks and oceanographic condition. And studying seabird trophic ecology during the breeding season is essential to learn about the marine environment within the foraging range of their colony and to understand how they exploit it. So in predator populations such as seabirds, changes in foraging behavior in response to spatio-temporal variation of prey are expected. Prey depletion might cause a trophic niche widening in general species to feed on different resources of prey, which is not the case with specialist species, which increase their foraging effort without diet shifts. So in sympatric species feeding on similar resources, reduced food ability can increase interspecific competition and cause trophic niche segregation. So to understand this process and to assess the degree of competition between two sympatric seabird species, we studied the spatio-temporal variability in diet and niche width in the Odwin's gull and yellow-legged gull breeding in the Zimbra archipelago through stable isotope analysis. So, as you know, the Odwin's gull is classified as vulnerable species in the IUCN Red List since 2020, and it's one of the species covered by Action Plan for the Conservation of Bird Species listed in Annex 2 of the Protocol on Specially Protected Areas and Biologic Diversity. It's a specialist species, and in Zimbra we count about 60 couples or pairs in the Zimbra Island. So for the yellow-legged gull, it's less concerned species. It's a generalist species, and we count about 900 pairs in the Zimbra archipelago. Oops. Right. Sorry. The study area was in Zimbra archipelago, which is located in the southern shore in the Mediterranean Sea, in the eastern Gulf of Tunis, and the fieldwork was carried in the Zimbra Island and the Zimbretta Islet, which is far from Zimbra, about 5 kilometers. So the Zimbra archipelago is classified since 1998 as an important bird area and as a SPEMI special protected area of Mediterranean importance since 2001. And currently, it's a marine protected area in process of establishment or in creation. The study was carried out in the breeding seasons of gulls in 2015 and 2016. So why did you choose to study the trophic ecology of seabirds through stable isotope analysis? The study of seabirds' trophic ecology could be carried out through two distinct methods. The first one is the conventional method, which is the analysis of regurgitations and stomach content. It has a high level of accuracy for taxonomic identification of prey. However, its inconvenience is the difficulty of the analysis of well-digested prey. However, the second method, the modern method, is based on the use of biogeochemical markers such as natural stable isotopes. It complements conventional method. However, it provides information on the food sources assimilated in the consumer's tissue over different time scales. So the carbon and the nitrogen stable isotope provide information about the origin of the prey, if it is a marine, land, or freshwater origin, if the prey is a benthic or pelagic prey, if they could also give us information about the foraging area and the trophic level. So to do the stable isotope analysis, we collected or we sampled two complementary tissues, which are the blood and feathers. So the blood, which is metabolically an active tissue, reflects the diet for 3 to 4 weeks prior to sampling. So we sampled 0.5 millimeters. And we collected also feathers, which are inert tissue, which reflect the diet of the time and location in which they were constructed. So we collected a dorsal feather from chicks. And to characterize potential prey stable isotopes, we collected prey defined in the gull's diet, and we added data from literature. So these tables shows the number of collected tissues per species, per year, and per colony. And as you might see in the blue table for the Odoingol, in 2019 we found it in the Zimbrita Island. But when we went to the Zimbra archipelago to catch chicks, we didn't find it in Zimbrita. He moved to Zimbra due to the predation and attack of the yellow-legged gull. So we found it in Zimbra. So prior to the stable isotope analysis, each type of tissue had its relative preparation protocol. So for the blood, we have its related protocol, feeders, and potential prey. After that, all samples were moved to the continuous flow mass spectrometer connected to elemental analyzers for the isotope measurements, which was conducted in the pôle de spectrométrie Océan à Brest en France, in the laboratory of Lemar. When comparing isotopic composition tissues between yellow-legged gull and Odwing gull, we found that there was significant differences between the two species, and the Odwing gull showed higher carbon and nitrogen isotope stable signature than the yellow-legged gull. So we know that the arrangement in the carbon isotope ratio is higher inshore than in offshore food chains, with a surface to benthic gradient. So our results could be explained that there was a trophic segregation between the two gull species, and the yellow-legged gull feed their chicks on oceanic prey, while the Odwing gull feed them more inshore. When comparing isotope niche width, we found that the yellow-legged gull showed a broader or larger niche, isotopic niche, comparing to the Odwing gulls. However, there's no considerable overlap between the two species. We use isotope mixing models to estimate the proportion of prey groups in the diet of the two species. So, as you know, the yellow-legged gull is an opportunistic species. It can feed on rubbish and on prey, terrestrial prey. So, while the Odwing gull is strictly a marine specialist, so to give meaning to the analysis or the comparison of the trophic ecology of the two species, we removed the isotope signature of prey, terrestrial prey, and we compare only the signature at the marine level. So as you see, circled in the red, the diet of the two species was mainly composed by pelagic fish, and the yellow-legged gull presented more the higher proportion of pelagic fish compared to Odwing gulls. However, which was not expected, the Odwing gulls showed higher proportion of non-pelagic fish and cephalopods comparing to the yellow-legged gull. So this result could be explained that even their specialist behavior, Odoin gulls could feed their chicks on fisheries discard or on small species caught in coastal area, the origin of non-pelagic fish and cephalopods, due to the selection of nutritional and energetic prey necessary for their chick demands, richer in protein and energy, or due to small pelagic fish depletion. So to conclude, stable isotope analysis revealed different isotope values between the two gull species, suggesting that the Odoin gull selected prey with higher carbon and nitrogen isotope values to feed their chicks than yellow-legged gull did. The yellow-legged gull showed wider isotope niches than Odoin gull with no considerable overlap between their niches. The two gull species feed mainly on pelagic fish, and the proportion of this prey group was higher in yellow-legged gull, while non-pelagic fish and cephalopods proportion was higher in Odoin gulls. And the Odoin gull could feed their chicks on fisheries discard or small pelagic small species caught in coastal areas due to the selection of nutritional and energetic prey or due to small pelagic fish depletion. For recommendation, to assess the energy demands and feeding requirements during the breeding season of the Odoin gulls and yellow-legged gulls, it's necessary to study their trophic ecology at a finer scale, means different breeding phases, pre-laying, incubation, and chick rearing. Exploring the trophic ecology of Odoin gull could help to understand the vulnerability of this species to fishery bycatch by highlighting periods when breeding individuals vary in their reliance on fisheries discard. Odoin gulls could be a valuable bioindicator of small pelagic fish population which are considered critically depleted in the Mediterranean due to the combined effects of overfishing and climate change. And finally, due to its vulnerability, it's relevant to increase the efforts of the marine protected area managers of the Zimbabwe archipelago in the conservation of the Odoin gull through various means and to implement effective management plans. That's all from my side, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was a very valuable assessment to look at also like how yellow-legged gulls and Odoin gulls are interacting in the environment in their niche. We don't have time for questions, so people can find Intisar later and address their questions directly to her.
Thank you.
We're going to stop for a short break. Emphasis on short because we're running quite behind schedule. So stretch your legs, have a bathroom stop, pick up your coffee and cake and come back inside with the coffee and cake. We can have coffee and cake in here. If we can try to start being in here at 11, that would be great so that we can start the following. Yeah, it's just a stretching. Run to your coffee and come back inside, all right? We'll see you back here shortly. All right, that's great. So thank you for returning to the hall. We have the last three sessions, the last three presentations of this session left. There's some of them are flexible. There's merged presentations. There's presentations that are inviting some more discussion and active contribution. So it's going to be a more mobile rest of the session before we break out again and have the opportunity to see the posters properly before going for lunch. So I think we can welcome Khadija Bouras from BirdLife Morocco, who will be speaking to us about the situation of Audouin skulls in Morocco. The floor is yours.
Thank you. So good morning, everyone. My name is Khadija Bouras, and I am the Executive Director of Groupe de Recherche pour la Protection des Oiseaux au Maroc, the Moroccan BirdLife partners. Before to start my presentation, I want to tell you some word about our organization. So we are NGO, Moroccan NGO, established in 1993, and our mission is defined around the conservation of wild birds and its habitats. And as I said, we are the Moroccan partner in BirdLife partner in Morocco. Few years ago, we start to work on marine area through our contribution to the bycatch program, Med bycatch program, and currently we co-manage the future marine protected area of Jebel Moussa. One of flagship activities in Morocco, GROPOM's flagship activities is wintering census. And thanks to data collected during the wintering census, we can make some analysis and we have some idea about from species like gold species, gold Audouin's gold, the subject of this presentation. So now I will present to you an overview of the evolution and distribution of wintering Audouin's gold in Morocco. So this is a vulnerable species at European and global scale, and endemic seabird of the Mediterranean region. In Morocco, it is breeder migrant, resident breeder, wintering and passage migrant, and it is considered as a species of heritage interest. Our objectives of this analysis of this study is to understand the distribution patterns, to define the habitat preference of population during the non-breeding season, and to have some idea of the population trends. And thanks to this idea, we can assessing the vulnerability of the species to environmental changes. This analysis was taken out thanks to 40 years account undertaken at a resting site along the Moroccan coast. So the first result, or the first analysis, the population showed large annual fluctuation from 7 bird in 1830 to more than 22,000 in 2022, representing approximately 40% of the global population. So here I want to highlight that it is important. It is important to highlight here that this population is underestimated because all of the sites are not visited due to the immensity of our coastline. Here, as you can see here in the map, the species noted a large distribution. Especially in the Atlantic coast, and the species is recorded in 75 distinct wetlands along the Atlantic and Mediterranean coast, with a maximum of 31 sites in the same year. The distribution pattern was fairly constant from year to year. As you can see in the histogram, in the yellow, this species has a preference for coastal wetland of the Moroccan Sahara, contributing to over 80% of its national average number, with 58% of which is recorded only in 3 sites located in the south of Morocco, Dakhla, La Baie de Dakhla, Point Aufist, and Cap Aftisset. So how we can explain this distribution? There is many conditions are fulfilled in this region. And maybe behind this distribution, the first one, the availability of food resources, particularly sardines, whose abundance is linked to the upwelling phenomenon, which is permanent in the north of the northern. Is permanent if the southern region, like the north, who is limited to the summer season. And there is habitability, the large site, beach, sandy beach, and there is no disturbance in this site. There is little frequented beaches. So we can assume that there is an area of international importance for this species. To conclude, we have some recommendation to improve for more study. We propose conducting a thorough census along the Mediterranean and Atlantic coast of Morocco at least once every 8 years, aligning with estimated generation during 8 years, given the global importance of the population wintering in Morocco. Measures to protect the marine feeding area and roosting sites should be implemented as a priority, and further research is needed to assess the actual size of Moroccan wintering population of Edwin's Gull and its conservation status, as well as the threats faces. And thank you.
Thank you very much. We have time for questions. I think it's another quite exemplary population that you have in Morocco, and it seems to support a lot of the global population from this.
As I said, it is underestimated again. Because,
we have a question from Nicola, I believe. Surprise!
I can shut up if you want.
No, we like it.
The last thing you said, to have a thorough census every 8 years or 9 years in consideration of the generation length, I think it is very little frequency, because, I mean, on a breeding population, okay, but for wintering birds, which may change positions and so on, one should do this more often, at least on sample areas. I don't know.
Propose
the general census.
But you propose
to make more often.
More often, yeah. But I respect in French. It's more easy for me. Okay. Oui, mais vu la faisabilité, déjà là, on n'arrive pas à suivre toute la côte. Et donc, si on augmente la fréquence, on n'aura pas assez de personnes qui vont faire le suivi. Mais bon, c'est relativement à la génération des oiseaux et aussi à la faisabilité de nos moyens pour faire le recensement.
Oui, mais peut-être seulement sur des échantillons sites.
Oui, mais l'idée, c'était aussi d'avoir un peu la population sur toute la côte marocaine. Comme j'ai dit, elle est sous-estimée. Donc, il est temps de faire un recensement exhaustif de toute la côte pour voir un peu Parce que déjà, elle représente 40%. Si on fait toute la côte, aussi bien à l'Atlantique qu'à la Méditerranée, un recensement exhaustif, on aura un peu plus une idée sur la population qui visite en hivernage. Mais bon, si vous proposez que c'est mieux, je ne sais pas, peut-être ça va être une bonne idée.
Merci.
Can we perhaps have a resume in English would suffice? I guess that obviously, Nicola, you asked whether it can be more frequently than every 9 years. Yeah, and the limitation is the human power because of the expanse of the coastline.
And we need to have an idea for the population in Morocco.
Yeah. So perhaps that's an opportunity.
Perhaps the first time to have a general idea, and after perhaps we can have more census.
Yeah, or even an opportunity to have regional collaboration, to have perhaps manpower for one thorough census, to then have sites for more frequent. For instance, I'm just putting this out there. This is not my subject. But we have one other question over here.
Yes, indeed, I think also that a frequency of 8 years is so few in this case, because I had the opportunity to work with some Spanish groups doing some winter observations. I think that is more belong to develop human resource in this area, to have this opportunity to do this work more frequently, maybe for winter observation first, and then of course to do other tasks also that you are. So I think this is feasible, since that we can have more people trained on this, and as GRIPOM has also geographic members or bureau, they can involve more people that would be more trained for that.
Khadija, I think you should take notes of these people and make sure that they come to participate in the census. Yeah. Oh, we have one from Nunu over here. I'll give you my microphone.
Thank you. It's not, well, for start, it's not a question. It's just a suggestion. Perhaps we can have like a mix approach to have like every 10 years a full census in all Meds and Atlantic, and every year we can select plots, smaller plots that we can monitor and assess, have data to monitor and assess the population status in a more fine way. But I have a question for you. Yeah, you have, of course, first of all, congratulations, because I just figured out that we both were, the associations were born in the same year, 1993, even Spare and your association, very nice to know. But my question is, of course, you don't have a lot of funds, but you present very nice data on how the winds gull wintering in Morocco. And how did you manage to do that? It was very nice.
Ça fait depuis 1983, il y a des recensements, on a des bénévoles qui font le recensement des oiseaux d'eau, et aussi ils font aussi bien le recensement des oiseaux d'eau ainsi que les oiseaux de marins au niveau des côtes.
Okay, thank you.
Can we manage?
Perhaps we can have a volunteer to resume that in English. Would you be approved? Okay, that would be for the benefit of the non-French speakers.
Can you just repeat, just to make me remind the
Donc la
sentences?
question c'était comment?
That's okay. It's she said that the volunteers from the year that the association burned it, it's the volunteers who really do the monitoring, and without them we can't really have any of these informations. So that's the struggle. We want to have more volunteers, maybe more funds for that.
Yeah, nous avons des fonds de soutien pour survenir juste au transport, mais c'est grâce à l'AFD, Tour de Vala, il y a les partenaires de BirdLife qui nous soutiennent financièrement pour certains frais, mais pas tout. Mais le gros de travail, c'est du bénévolat. C'est nos observateurs qui participent chaque année. Et d'ailleurs, c'est pourquoi en plus de la question de la génération, on doit se limiter pour ne pas encore augmenter le nombre des années de suivi.
Well,
Bon, il y a plusieurs subventions d'aide. Il y a la Tour de Vala, l'AFD, il y a VBN, notre partenaire BirdLife, qui nous supporte dans ses activités de recensement financièrement. Mais c'est juste pour couvrir les frais de transport. Mais il s'agit vraiment d'un travail de bénévolat de nos observateurs à travers le Maroc. C'est un réseau que nous avons. On est en fait structuré par région. Et au niveau de chaque région, on a un groupe qui effectue des recensements au niveau local. Et pour le sud, vu qu'on n'est pas représenté dans le sud, il y a toujours des équipes qui sont envoyées vers le sud pour faire ce recensement.
So the partners are helping more for the logistic way to get to the islands and to the field monitoring sections. But the real work of counting birds, watching birds, and the real monitoring is especially by volunteers. So that's it.
I think we have to close the session though at this point, but we'll feel free to contact each other. Okay, next up we have Aida Abdenader and Mathieu Thévenet, who are sharing the presentation together. And I'll leave it to you to introduce yourselves.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to present the results of a study we conducted in 2021. The title? It's going very quickly. He's calling? He's calling you. Ah, voilà. Oui,
there's a slight delay between.
Okay. It's about improving knowledge of small islands in the north of Tunisia, which are Fratelli, Cani, Pilot, and Plan. And at the end, we are going to discuss on the Arduino's goal. This study is a collaboration between the Initiative of Mediterranean Small Islands Initiative, LAPAL, which is the agency, the Tunisian agency in charge of the creation of MPAs in Tunisia, and another NGO of divers. The study is in the framework of the Cogito project, a project supporting the process of integrated management and resilience of coastal area and island in the Mediterranean, which aims to contribute to the support and consolidation of integrated management in future MPAs. The project, Cogito, is including 10 pilot sites. The Tunisian sites in the project are Zembra and La Galite Archipelago, also both located in the north of Tunisia. So you can see both islands, both MPAs, and the 4 small islands, which are Fratelli from the north to the south, Fratelli, Cani, Pilot, and Plan. Okay, the idea was to carry out a quick assessment of the terrestrial habitats for ornithologic, herpetologic, and botanical groups, and also of the marine habitats. So we observed in the vicinity and identified habitats of the above mentioned island, type of cover, state of vitality, density, highlighting heritage species or species with a special status, etc. So the objective also was to identify the ecological value of each island and to identify threats affecting or likely to affect the marine biodiversity around them. And at the end, trying to give some brief indication and recommendation for management actions. So we've been a multidisciplinary team made of ornithologists, herpetologists, and botanists for the terrestrial habitat. For the marine component, the divers team were composed of divers, but also people on board, on board, yeah, who were observing by a Calfat telescope. I'm not going to present all the results of the study, but only the marine ornithology part. Okay, so in Fratelli Island, we found 10 pairs of Eleonore falcon and some 10 breeding Scopoli shearwaters, and something like 20 yellow-legged gull with a different breeding stage. Some were with eggs, other with chicks. In Pilot also, we found a breeding colony of Audouin's gulls and yellow-legged gull of respectively 20, we count respectively 20 and 50 pairs. The Audouin's gull in Pilau Island is the first time we found it, we discovered it. In Cani, also we found a new colony, a breeding colony of Audouin's gull, but bigger than the last one. We count something like 90 individuals breeding. In Plan, we did not find any breeding seabirds, but we noted several signs of pollution, such like plastic or construction waste. So the quick assessment, the very quick assessment we did in 2021 revealed a quite dense, I think, breeding colony of Scopoli shearwater in Fratelli, given the number of burrows we could find in a short time. We just been there about 20 minutes because of climate conditions. So we are suggesting some nocturnal visits to better have insight on this colony, especially that it is located between the mega colony of Zembra. All of us know that in Zembra we have the biggest colony, breeding colony of Scopoli shearwater in the world. And it would be interesting to have more information on the movement on the overlapping of the breeding and foraging area. And a nocturnal visit would be more interesting than the one we did during the day. Okay. So the updating of knowledge of the four northern islands located between La Galite and Zembra, both pilot sites of the Cogito project, has led to the finding of 2 seabird colonies that have not yet been reported. The new colonies, whose species also nest on Zembra, are respectively on the Fratelli and Cani. So, and both species are listed on the Annex 2 of the Barcelona Convention Protocol. Future studies are therefore necessary to define the reproductive phenologies of these 2 colonies and to see interaction between them. Okay, now I will leave the floor to Mathieu, who will talk on Audouin's gull.
Thank you. Yes, just a short contribution to give you actually the floor and to collect some of your recommendation of what should be done regarding Audouin's gull conservation in the northern part of Tunisia. But before that, very quickly, this is the situation about the breeding colonies of our favorite species. There's between 80 and 120 breeding pairs in La Galite archipelago in the western parts of the country. Ida told you already that in the middle you have a very small island called Cani in front of Bizerts of more than 90 breeding pairs, according to the last study that she presented. And the ancient and quite well-known Zembra population is actually the smallest, around 60 breeding pairs, according to Ridauni monitoring. There's also a few pairs, a few individuals in Djerba, but very few. So this is the situation. Wow. Non, c'est pas du tout ça. Whoa. Okay, some slide I'm missing, I think. And regarding the status of protection, Galite Archipelago is a marine reserve. Zembra, as you may know, is a national park, and since the 70s, in both of these islands, they are now, since a few years, a co-management team. They are quite efficient. Man and Apal are managing Galite. Aspen and Apal are managing Zembra. They have boats. They have good capacity of expertise. So the situation of let's say, breeding conservation of Audouin's gull, I think, according to me, is quite honest in this part of the Med. Concerning the colony in between, Cani Islands, I also have to announce that a local willing is existing to create a new MPAs. APAL, the Tunisian Coastal Agency, asked the French Coastal Agency, Conservatoire du Littoral, to produce drafts of management plans that has been provided a few months ago. And this management plan is including Cani Islands and the coastal in the mainland, which is smart, obviously, because it's an integrated approach, because threats on islands are always coming, obviously, from the mainland. But it is, of course, a shots. There will be an MPA maybe in 10 years. So we wanted to ask you what should be done now for maybe next year and the following years regarding Oudwingsglull. There's some capacity, as I was saying. Coastal Agency, the association I was presenting just a few seconds ago, RACSPA is also on the game. PIM can play a role if needed. So the question, what should we do? In terms maybe of data collection, more inventories, breeding monitoring, maybe study the movements, ringing operation, and how should we doing it? Should we tackle the invasive species issues? Other actions? Well, I give you the floor. What should we do?
Well, you've heard it. The floor is open. So can we have some roaming microphones? We have Nuno here starting off.
Yes, thank you. Oh, very nice for your presentation and for yours as well. So going straight to your question, yeah, normally nowadays the people tends to, when they start to monitor any colony or any bird or any animal, they start to go with the fashion things. But I guess the priority is the baseline, is the base things. So I would say set a program on monitoring the population size, even using like all coverage census or monitoring plots. I guess monitoring plots is better and easier to implement, but things that you can keep monitoring for at least medium term or long term. Productivity is a base demographic that you need and is very informative. Of course, you can, if you can, try to start a ringing program. Better if you use color rings as well, because it gives you back a lot of information. But I think without this basic information, you can have no idea on the threats or the magnitude of the threats of the invasive species or whatever threat is it. So I would say that start with the basics. And of course, if you want to go to tracking and more fancy things, just go for it if you have the capacity and the funds. But
Thank you, Nuno. Okay, so start with the basic and then the fancy thing. Great. Any other idea?
I don't have an idea, but a question for you both. As a new recording for Oudwingsglull, so it's I kind of, and if I understand well, it's a global study with the new species, reptile species and plant species, but also bird species. As I work from the interaction and the impact of the seabirds on the insular vegetation, I would like to ask more about the plants, if there is any study and the objectives of this project, and how could you do the global studies? I mean, it's two different words, the bird side and the plant side and the reptile sides. If there is any project to each one of the field.
Well, no, but but it was a quick assessment. It was just like to make a very rapid inventory, because we had not data on these islands, very small islands,
Exactly.
located between two very big MPAs. So the idea was curiosity, to have just an update. But now we have the data, and we are open to maybe if
To dive into
there is some interest in doing something, or because they are not very separated world. We know it. They are very connected.
Everything
world.
is related, of
So,
course.
yeah. So if there is an interest in study something like this, maybe it will be possible to do it.
So another little question, and from the first observation, did you notice some impacts from the seabirds to the plants of the plants on the islands.
No, between plants and seabirds we didn't note, but in Plan there was a very big population of rabbits. And there was no a big diversity of plants.
Thank you.
There are some nitrophilic plants, the usual that you see in the islands. So for sure, the Gulf's presence has some impact in the vegetation for sure. But as Aida said, nothing extraordinary in comparison with the other islands that we know. But yeah, the idea was to take attention from the authority with these small quick assessments. And we had it because APAL is now asking management plans to the French Conservatoire du Littoral. So maybe it's the first step. But then it's on the hands of APAL and Tunisian stakeholders to go forward. I think Nicola
All
was...
right, yeah, there's Nicola, there's Yelena, and we have another one here. All right, can we take Nicola first, just to keep the order of speakers? It's okay, there's another microphone. Plenty of microphones.
I will speak very egoistically as a neighboring country. I think that the highest priority should be given to ring monitoring, because the few times when these islands, or Zembra in particular, were checked for rings, they contain Italian birds. So if this job is done properly, it can bring very good results. And doing it properly means to go not only once, but during the same day you go in the morning, then you go again before sunset, because maybe the parents have changed their turns, so you see other birds, then going later in the season, or usually earlier in the season you have more birds. Not all of them remain and breed, so you may have the chance to read some rings at the beginning, which will no longer be present in late May or so. So just consider these aspects in order to squeeze all the possible juice out of this bunch of birds which are already around. And I think this comes before ringing new birds. I mean, before we started, we checked for many years about presence of Spanish rings, of rings from people who had started before.
Okay, so first step, ring watching, and then start a ringing program.
I think so. And another thing, sorry if I'm taking long, that I could not exactly understand from the slides is whether there is contemporaneous information on the breeding figures, how many are colony size, in the same year, or if it is in different years, because they move the colony so often that you should, maybe not every year, but when you do the survey, cover all the sites. Otherwise, you risk to count a colony twice in different years.
If I have good remains, it could be great that Rida maybe can make some comments, but I think Galite Zembra has been counted the same years, and Kani the other one?
Kani was counted in 2021, and there is a gap of maybe something like 10 years. For Zembra and for Zembra, the last counting was in 2012, done by PIM. Yes, but the idea of ringing maybe is very important for this reason, to to better see the errative character of these species.
Okay, I understood that we should wait a bit before starting the ringing program, but still, if we are in this situation, from where should we get the ring? Should we get Tunisian ring or any other proposal from neighboring country to provide some? How does it work? That was a question from Rida before. No, for sure. Okay. There's a strategical issues behind that, okay?
So think about direct answers to that. Meanwhile, we have, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for this presentation. I think what I missed here is the human dimension. Nobody speak about the local fishermen. No one speak about the relation with this island and the local community using this island and their interaction with the birds. This is something we have to think about it for the future.
Okay. Thank you, Fauzi.
Yeah, we had some talks with some fisheries and military there, and we know that a lot of people are fishing in the area and going to Kani and fishing illegally. No, as a survey results, as a survey information.
Yeah.
No.
There are some people who collect eggs from the islands.
Yes, there is. But we don't know who and
how much?
The frequency and how much.
This is what,
but we
yeah,
know.
this is one of the questions we could add for the next.
Yes.
For next work.
I have one comment for your question, and I have a question for you. When you're talking about invasive species, this is, you mean rats or birds?
I was thinking about rats, but maybe you have something to say about birds. About what do you have in mind?
I mean, you're talking invasive species in general.
Yeah, that was just some topics that I threw on the board to give you. You can recommend whatever you want. We are interested in every contribution.
Just asking, yes, okay.
So, no. If you want to say something, please take the floor.
Ideas, okay. And then regarding to your question about if there is impact for the plants. Actually, seabirds on island, they have two strategies for thermoregulation. The first one is shading by the plants, so they get benefit from the plants, and the plants get fertilizing. This is the one side. If they don't have plants, they use another strategy. Then also the seabirds, when they are breeding on islands, the algae and corals and some marine plants, seagrasses, they get fertilized, so they get benefits. So they actually improving the life cycle of each species on islands. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any additional questions, comments, suggestions? Specific answers? I guess on the topic of rings and ringing schemes that can assist, I guess we can also speak to you guys independently in the breaks. Something that's very worth investing in. If there are no further, there's one from Lobna in the back.
Thank you. So just I have one recommendation. Of course, Barak is supported any kind of this work which will tackle or will update the information about these two species. But my recommendation is to the APAL. Really, the APAL should include this area within the monitoring, the national monitoring program for seabird. Because last year it was mainly the Gulf of Gabes and Kuryat Island. They chose this area to monitor the bird species the abundance, the distribution. But really now, I think that from this symposium and from this presentation, we should recommend APAL to really include this new area to be monitored concerning the seabird species. Thank you.
Thank you, Lomna, for this very concrete recommendation. Nicolas, I think.
And I think another important issue that you should consider when planning ringing is to have an information of the breeding success every year. So a count of the chicks at the end of the season. Because as I see from small colonies in similar habitats like Tunisian ones, in Sardinia, you are lucky when you get a breeding success of 0.1. You're very lucky with 0.1. So it means maybe to have 10 or 20 chicks in a colony, and one should evaluate whether this is really a sample size that will give information, or if it is better to leave the chicks and not to disturb them, not to... I mean, we have done both things. Sometimes we ring it intensively, even in these cases. Sometimes we didn't.
Okay. 20 is enough. It's a correct sample. Okay.
All right. I think that can bring this presentation to a close. Thank you very much for the good presentation, and also for mobilizing discussion on the subject. So the Oudwensgal session is a Speer sandwich. We have Tanya Nascimento from Speer who's going to be closing the session and leading into future recommendations.
Hello, everyone. So my presentation follows Nuno's presentation about the Species Action Plan, but here we will focus more on the threats and the conservation actions of the plan. This will be like an open presentation, so if you have questions during my talk, you can raise your hand. And also I will ask for some comments from you or some ideas from you. So I will kind of jump, because the aim of this presentation is for us to work, to effective work on the Species Action Plan. Okay, so we are all here, so we might be productive and do stuff and work on the Species Action Plan. I will jump some slides because Nuno already told you about our project in the live feeders Barreira. So you know the species is really important for us, and now we hold a very high breeding colony. Yeah. So yeah, we'll focus on the Species Action Plan for Oudwensgal. We already know that the action plan is dated from 1996, so it's almost 30 years. We need to update the action plan, and that is the plan for 2024. So last year we reviewed the implementation of the Species Action Plan, and this year we want to really update the action plan. So for that we gather information. There are some countries where we have information and some countries where we don't have any information, and that is Egypt, Libya, Lebanon, Mauritania and Senegal. I know there's people here from those countries, so if you can help us, and if you know or you know other people that can help us, it will really, really help us in updating the Species Action Plan. So we gather information about 12 different threats. We kind of divide them in different levels of importance. Here are the high or potentially high importance. So we start with depletion of food resources, negative interaction from other species, human disturbance, and below each category you find the countries that said that those threats were occurring in their countries. Also, changes in fishing practices and bycatch, mainly in recreational fisheries, artisanal fisheries and long lines. That was an information that we didn't possess before the review of the implementation plan last year. And we also gather information about new threats that weren't present in the species action plan, and that is the hypopathogenic avian influenza virus and other diseases. Of course, you know, if these diseases reaches high density colonies can be really disastrous, and we have to be ready for it. And the other threat is offshore wind farms. So it's kind of like a really in the development. Wind farms are really getting big, and we have to pay attention for them. And now the threats with low importance are habitat alteration at breeding sites, colonization of degraded areas, that it's a new threat that wasn't occurring during the Species Action Plan in 1996. And we actually didn't know any information about egg collection and human persecution until this last, this last presentation. So we know that at least they are occurring in Tunisia. So we were kind of thinking maybe this is not a threat anymore and we could remove it, but we will let it stay. Although in low importance because none of the other countries said it was a threat. And then we have threats that we don't actually know how the extension of the importance and the impacts that they have, because it may take a lot of years for us to know the real impacts on them. So it's like chemical pollution, oil spills, and climate change. So before I pass to the next part, I want to hear from you if you agree with this list of threats, if you have another threats that are not here, or if you have any comments. Raise your hand. People from Libya, Lebanon, Egypt.
Even maybe perhaps if there's any other input with regards to the stealing of eggs and chicks that you mentioned. So
Yeah.
incidentally, we heard it from the previous exchange, but if there are other countries that are aware of that, then welcome. Pep, can we have a microphone? Ah, sorry, okay.
Yes, if you remember during my presentation, we mentioned also due to the ongoing crisis in Lebanon, people are starting to catch the gulls and to feed on them. And I believe this is the same case in Egypt as well, as Mr. Muhammad Habib informed me before as well. So that this might be another threat for those species.
So, but you mean feeding on the chicks? Or
No, feeding on the adult gulls.
On the adults?
Yeah.
Okay. So we can include that in the threat, yes. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. I would like to make a comment about the existing situation in Turkey. As soon as I have a chance to follow your presentation, as good as I follow your presentation, I don't totally agree with what we have in Turkey. Probably I will provide you more information, more reliable information than what you have here. That would be nice to make additional contribution.
Yeah, but you have it now. You can.
Yes, I have, but
Nuno is there
later on I
taking
can share that information.
Yeah.
But some of those things that seem not to be valid for Turkey or irrelevant.
Okay.
Yep.
So for anyone who wants to join our working group, you can. Of course, we had contacts with some people, but we can't reach everyone because we don't know everyone.
No,
And
I'm
this is a really
I'm not
good-
negatively criticizing. I am just openly contributing.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, I had just a comment. Now that I see the threads and the overall view, and I was contributing to this, so partly it's
So
my...
you have no excuse.
No. No, but that's why I'm commenting. I think some of the threats, I think the problem is not so much which country is important and which country is not, but which person thinks that it's important and which person thinks. I mean, some threats are clearly localized and can be allocated to countries. But issues like food depletion, that can be also local, but I would say that probably, or ingestion of plastics, probably is a widespread issue, and the problem is the perception of the person that is fulfilling the questionnaire about how really important or not is for the species. So I would try, I don't know why, I'm just thinking as I speak,
yeah.
but I think it would be important to smooth this or to homogenize to as much as possible this assessment of threats, just because I insist, I think some of them can be clearly local, but some of them it's just a different perception of different people. This is a rather subjective process.
Analysis, yeah.
And
For
there
us,
is no...
it was important to know the extent of every threat. Of course, I'm not saying one is bigger than the other, but we kind of need to add like a mean of differentiating them. But of course, we can, and in the action plan, we can write, if it's a threat specific to one place, we can write that in the document. And I think that's a really important contribution from all of us to give us that information and for us to prepare the best action plan that we can. Yeah.
Yes, sure. It didn't want to be a criticism, or
No.
It's just a reflection
yes,
about how to think in a way of trying to homogenize this approach.
Yeah.
Thank you, and very good work anyway. Thank you.
We have a comment from Mohammed Habibi here, and then another one over there. Yeah.
Okay. Personally, I will add a natural predation, like feral dogs, like in Egypt, feral dogs and foxes. Yeah, as Dr. Fuad said, human also disturbance. But in the last 15 years, I record 17 new species breeding for the first time in Egypt. And basically, all of those species actually is European species. So this was my question even in the conference in Switzerland, that based on the climate change theory, that all of the breeding will migrate to the north. But actually, in the last 15 years, I found that the migration going south for breeding toward the south, not toward the north. Yeah.
So you're saying natural predation, it's a bigger issue?
Yes, it's, for example, in the north, it's a big issue for flamingo. They failed 3 in the last 12 years, failed 3 times because of feral dogs.
Yeah.
While in the south of Egypt, they succeed. Yeah.
Okay. The predation is included in the interaction with other species. So in that category, in which we include predation by yellow-legged gulls, cats, rats, foxes, dogs. Every one of those species can be identified in the document, and we can have like a proper definition of every species that can predate outwing gull. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes. We have in Morocco one recent project about the new platform about threats. We have a new pilot of oil spill, ballast water, etc., which is inside the program of digitalization of monitoring of MSP, which is linked to control in near real time when there is accidents. And we also have a program with the Ministry of Environment on how to react for the biodiversity when there is a risk. And I think this might be a link with Morocco to work together.
Okay, thank you. Any more? Okay, so let's move to the conservation actions of the Species Action Plan. So in this table, I don't know if you can read actually. Yeah. In this table we have all of the actions that are described in the Species Action Plan of 1996. Of course, some of them can be outdated or need to be changed, as is the case of to influence fishery policies and regulations in the Mediterranean. We need to extend that to the Atlantic. And also we need to include influence offshore wind energy policy and regulations. So now I will ask you to take a moment to look at this table to see if these actions still make sense, if we need to add more actions to this. Of course, this is only related to policy and legislative actions. Any comment? No, let's move. So regarding species and habitat protection, these are the actions that are on the Species Action Plan. Of course, we thought the egg collecting was not a problem. Oh, sorry. We thought egg collecting and killing adults or chicks were not a problem, so we thought we would remove that action, but we will keep it as seen here. It's still happening. So what needs to be incorporated is, for example, the breeding sites in urban areas. So we have to think in which actions we want to do and to make sure that we contribute to the conservation of the Outwinds gull, keeping in mind they are starting to breed in urban areas. Don't know if you have any comments on that.
Am I allowed to have a relatively uninformed comment? Because I was thinking this as well during Marty's presentation, whether if they're moving into urban and especially industrial areas, whether we need to pay more attention to potential ecological traps that they might get in, especially perhaps with respect to pollutants and things that may actually alter their
that may be
effects.
worse in urban environments than in
perhaps.
natural environments. Yeah.
I don't know if someone who's far more well-versed in the ecology of Odwin's gull can maybe give an input on that. Pep.
Thank you. No, just thinking in your comment, Marie-Claire, I wouldn't expect, I mean, from our point of view, just having them in industrialized or urban or humanized areas is probably like they are losing their pristine habitat, and this is something, this is a big change. But I think from the perspective of the birds, I mean, they have a better habitat in terms of what they need, that is protection against disturbance and protection against predators. So I think the main, and they are foraging probably in the same areas or similar areas that were used before. So probably from a pollution point of view, I wouldn't, I mean, the Ebro Delta with the river inputs is probably a highly polluted area in mercury, for instance. And I wouldn't expect far more pollution in Barcelona area where the birds used to forage anyway before. But it can be an ecological trap in terms that for instance, Martí was presenting places that can be accommodated for in the long term, but sometimes they have been breeding in ports in places that were not used at the moment, but were planned to be used in the future. So if a colony grows up in a place, I think that is not really natural. I think it's going to be very difficult to claim protection for this place, and this could represent that, okay, no one is going to touch the colony while they are breeding there, but if there is a economic pressure behind, in the winter, this can be completely transformed, and for the birds, this can be a problem because they are kind of nomadic, but anyway, if you plan to come back to your colony and you find that there is not your colony there, so this could be what I would expect from an ecological trap point of view, rather than increased pollution. Maybe I'm wrong about pollution. Maybe there could be some effects, but or even sounds, or I don't know. But I wouldn't consider this type of habitat as a direct problem for the birds. It's rather a problem for our perception of the birds. And beyond the management of these sites, that's it.
Maybe one of the actions can be monitoring urban populations of Audouin's gull to know for sure if there are any different types of threats or different types of impacts that areas have on the population.
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed, in the Al Hasima city, we have the most important breeding sites inside the city. So, because the city has also an estuary and at the same time a cliff. So I think there is, of course, now that we have some boat tourism activity, I think that there is some risk that this birding site will be endangered.
Yeah, and I think it's really important for us to keep monitoring the populations of urban Audouin's gull because, like you said, tourism is a big thing. It can have many impacts and it can affect the population, and we may not be expecting in some ways or another. And I think it's really important for us to consider that and to monitor those populations as well, besides the natural protected areas.
Yeah, also there is a small island that belongs to Spain, and we have two small islands next to Neckar Island, which are very small, and turns now there was some conflicts, and they turns to a real self-MPE because no one can reach them. And we have every year some, because the breeding of Audouin is, they are changing the places each year since we have the cliffs, 40 kilometers of cliffs in the national park, which we have another cliff inside the city, and we have next to the estuary of Al Hasima Bay, we have the estuary and these two cliffs that are no man's land. So there is some things that can be prepared or programmed as activity.
And maybe we have to think why the natural areas are not good anymore for Audouin's gull, and if we can do something to reverse that situation, because well, I guess a protected area is much safer for birds, and it's easier to manage than an urban population. So maybe that's one of the things that we have to think about.
I'll encourage you to continue on with there's more slides on your presentation.
Yes,
All right.
sorry.
And then, yeah, if
There's
anyone has
only
additional,
two
all
more.
right. So if anyone has any additional points on this, to contact you directly and keep going.
So another topic is monitoring and research. Of course, here we have plenty of actions. So if you agree to keep those actions, or if we need to input another ones, for example, we need to study more the effects of plastic ingestion and the effects of climate change that we don't study much. As the increase of temperature and rising of sea levels can do at the breeding sites and the breeding population. So I don't know if you have any comments on that, on those actions. No. Okay, and the last topic, it's public awareness and training. Of course, here we have like increased awareness campaigns, work with the government, involve tourists to know and for them to be aware of the species and help them protect it. I don't know if you have any new ideas on this topic for actions to be included in the new action plan. No? Okay. So that's it for my presentation. Of course, anyone that wants to be involved in the preparation of the species action plan can talk to us, and you are more than welcome to join us. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Tanya. So we don't forget Nuno and Tanya's invitation to share more information, to join the Species Action Plan, and to share contacts of countries that have not yet been represented in the action plan, but which holds important sites and information for the species. That brings this session to a wrap. We are running slightly behind schedule. Before we leave for a short poster session before lunch, I believe that Lobna had some logistical points to make. I think so. Or is it Claudia? It's Claudia. No stress.
Yes, I will not be long. So there was one question with regard to departure. I know we are not yet at the end, but tomorrow morning there is a flight at 7:45 for many of you. And please, we invite you to be at the reception desk at 10 minutes to 6 to go to the airport. The departure will be at 6, not waiting for anybody who will be late. Another point is I would like to remind the people I contacted either by email or personally for small videos to come outside before lunchtime just to get these videos done with the team outside. And even though this symposium is always, let's say, very integrative, we will make little exception. We are calling for all women in this room now to come up here for a joint photo of women in science in marine and coastal birds. So please don't be shy, come here. We would like to take this photo with you now. Yes, it's at here. Okay, Marie-Claire reminds me to also tell you that you have to be back here in the room after lunch at 2 o'clock.